Welcome to Conquering Dreams with the legendary motivational speaker, C.B. Baker. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here's C.B. Baker.
Hi, welcome to Conquering Dreams. This is your host, C.B. Baker. It's good to be back. My first guest today, I've been knowing this man here for a little bit, on the business side and the mentoring side of things. Ro, welcome to the show.
Well, hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So we got a lot. You got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of the year, going into 2018. Which we're entering the holiday season, which everybody loves. But business-wise, if you own a business and run a business, this is like a rough time of year because people mentally start checking out. But with that being said, so tell me what you've been up to for the past couple of years.
Man, mentoring, of course. We've been doing a lot with mentoring. To start the school year, we did a back-to-school sneaker drive. So we gave about 75 kids sneakers. We went to Chesapeake Square Mall and did that. Mentoring every month, every week at some school. We're at, Kennedy Middle School, Hill Point Elementary School, Lakeland High School, all year long with mentoring. So, we're gearing up for 2018. We do our own program on the side of what we do with the school. We do that in the summertime. Let's see what else. We did a back-to-school breakfast with Lakeland.
Yeah.
So, we sit down one-on-one with kids. I actually have 3 kids that I mentor, and one of those, he's joined the Marines already.
Okay.
And he's in the 12th grade. So he's just basically waiting to graduate, and then he's going off to boot camp. So mentoring, it takes up the majority of my time, but we just did the 6-year anniversary for Drinking on Sunday. That had like 500 people there. And we have another event. My birthday's tomorrow. I'm turning 42.
Okay. Happy birthday.
And
early.
We having a party Friday at Roger Brown. And then we have a New Year's Eve party at Roger Brown also.
Okay.
So, trying to balance out everything. I got something for the kids and then something for the adults. All positive stuff.
Right. So tell me, how did you get into mentoring?
So I was doing these parties. I did maybe 50 parties, probably 50 parties in 1 year. And one of my friends, Dominique Epps, he's a real estate agent. He contacted me and said he knew some people that wanted me to put together a mentoring breakfast. And I was like, I don't know anything about mentoring, but I know about event planning. So I was like, I just approached it the same way. I put the same logic and drive behind a party behind the breakfast. So, I was making flyers. I was, everybody I ran into, hey, there's a mentorship breakfast on this day at this place.
Right.
And that day, another guy came, which is L.A. Hill, and he actually has a mentoring program called Enlightened Minds. And we joined the program right after that. So had it not been for that breakfast, maybe I never would have became a mentor.
Right.
And when I went to the breakfast, we talked to the kids. I'm just shooting from the hip. No real agenda or anything. And at that breakfast, there was a lady, Crystal Artist. She's a teacher at Kennedy Middle School, and she said, "Hey, we're having career day. Would you mind coming to career day? I saw you talking to the kids." I'm like, "Sure, why not?"
Right.
I go to career day, and a lot of people couldn't attend career day because it was like on a Tuesday or something. So after I walked around and did like my sessions, they was like, "Hey, you were great. You mind staying and doing some more?" Sure, why not?
Right.
And from there, I contacted the high school, and I was like, "Hey, I want to come talk to the kids in high school," because I went to Lakeland.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to start at, with kids in my own community that I may know some of their parents or something along those lines. And when I went and talked to the principal there, she just gave me the green light to run help run the program with her. And she was like, "You the person I've been looking for." And
wow.
That's how I became a mentor. And this year I received an award for Mentor of the Year. I got that, I want to say, in May. I also received an award for Father of the Year. I think that would have been about February, March time frame. So, the accolades, they just came in. I also received an award for Parks and Recreation for community involvement with the youth. So, who knows what would have happened if I wanted, took that mentorship breakfast. That really made the difference in my life.
So what are you getting out of doing the mentoring?
I like to see the troubled kids actually get an opportunity to talk to somebody who's become a success story. I wasn't like a great student in school. I got into, some trouble here and there. So I specifically like to talk to the kids that, they're having some difficulty in school, to let them know, like, hey, you can still make it, but you're going to have to buckle down. You're going to have to do the work. Everywhere you go, you're going to have rules. There's authority everywhere.
Yes.
Even in the NFL, there's somebody over top of them,
Right.
So there's always some authority figures that you're going to have to answer to. So that's what I try to tell the kids, that, respect authority and respect yourself and set some goals for yourself and try to accomplish them and just go from there.
So what's, do you have any success stories?
I would say the young man at Lakeland is probably one of my better success stories.
The one that's going to the Marines?
Yes, yeah. Because when I met him, the guidance counselor brought him to me maybe 2 years ago. And, I sat down and talked to him like, hey, what's going on? He was like in some kind of trouble. Maybe he was in ISS or something like that. And since then, he's in the band. Again, he's joined the Marines. He came to all our mentorship sessions in the summertime. Mm-hmm. So though we get kids in school, because we're going in, sometimes we're going in the classroom, sometimes we're meeting them for breakfast, or we're talking to them during lunchtime. He's actually took the initiative on his own to come to events that we're having like in August or before school starts in September. So he's really functioned well in the program all the way from the time that we started up until now, and he's an honor roll student now.
Wow, that's good news.
So that's why, we're really pushing him to like do, bigger things. And what we really want to see is him come back and talk to the kids.
Right.
Like, hey, these guys met me here, that way, especially if he can come back next year, because some of those kids in high school, while he's in the 12th grade, when he graduates, then they'll be coming up right behind him, and then they can see the entire process. And we're going to do bigger things with him, where, we teach him about credit, saving, finances, economical empowerment, because that's big in our community also.
Because that's where I was going next. Was at the beginning you were shooting from the hip, so now I imagine that you got everything more concise and got an agenda for each meeting.
Yes,
and how the whole process or curriculum for the mentorship. So can you dive a little bit into that?
LA lets us speak to the kids. When we're at elementary school, we use Dr. Covey's program. When we go to middle school, we talk to the kids about appropriate behavior, appropriate action. Are you talking
about Steve Covey?
Stephen
Covey? Oh, yeah. Very familiar with Stephen Covey.
So we talk to the kids about those things in elementary school. In middle school, we talk to them about appropriate action, appropriate behavior. We call it the straight A's. Mm-hmm. So that's what we generally talk to them about. And I like to do practical exercises with all the kids. So my last session, I put one chair in the front of the class, and I put all the rest of the chairs behind this one chair. And I said, we're going to see which child wants to step up. Now, the thing is, each time a kid comes in, I'm telling them, hey, sit wherever you want to sit. They sit down. And no child in 4 sessions chose the seat in the front. Mm-hmm. The seat in the front had money in it. Right? I put some money in there earlier. And every time one kid would come in, I would let him know. I would ask him, why didn't you choose the seat in the front? Because it's closest to me, right? And they'll give me a reason like, I don't know. Or by the time the 3rd or 4th student came in, the other 2 already know that there's money in the seat, but they can't tell the other student that there is money in it. So then he'll sit down. I'll be like, well, why did you sit there? Because my homeboy's sitting here. Right. So nobody wants to step up. So we're trying to teach them to be leaders, like somebody has to be the leader. Right. So our next session, I'm going to put all the chairs in one row and see, will anybody, I'm going to put money in all of the chairs and I'm gonna see will anybody just move their chair on their own to the front, or will they just continue to do what they've always done. These are 7th and 8th graders.
Right. But it's funny that you mentioned that about the people sitting up front. I was thinking the other day, I was like, I went to a conference and everybody came into the conference. It hadn't started yet, but everybody was sitting in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly anybody would sit up front.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think it was a black thing because we've been so conditioned to always sit in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But at this conference I went to, there was black and white people there, and the white folks were sitting in the back as well. So I was just sitting there like, so why are we conditioned to always sit towards the middle or the back?
Mm-hmm.
But then what's funny, if you was to go to a Jay-Z concert or a Beyonce, it's going to be about $1,500 to sit in the front.
Mm-hmm.
So it's premium to sit up front, and we'll pay for it, but we won't do it when it's free. It's very interesting how the mind works in that aspect.
Yeah. And I never even thought about it the way that you just said it. Like, if it's a concert, basketball game,
right?
Like, I'm trying to get as close as I can to the front,
right?
Yo, $350, $1,000. I want to be on the floor, right? But if it's something like, depending on the setting, seminars, conference, classroom, and that's I have my own children. I have 3 kids, and I tell them the same thing. Like, You got to lead from the front. We need more leaders. It's way more followers. It's easy to follow. It's easy to just do what everybody else is doing. I tell them all the time, we're not here to be average.
Right.
So
yeah, it's tough to be, especially to be the one that busts through the wall first, because they the ones that get hurt the most. So
the Kaepernicks,
right? When you're the one going through it, and then and people tend to not give you the praise. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, it always comes at the end after everybody's gotten through the hole in the wall, everybody's through. Then that's when years later, like when you mention Kaepernick, they'll say, "Hey, man, look what he did." Because he did the same thing with Muhammad Ali.
Exactly.
Same thing with Martin Luther King. After their time in the prime is past and gone, that's when they say, "Oh, they did such a great job." But in the meantime, they was catching pure hell.
Yep.
So that's just one thing that I noticed about that. So, but even as adults, we don't do that. So how are you able to, what things are you using or techniques are you using to get kids to get to that level?
We use a reward system where, everything we're doing, we're telling the kids that they need to listen to what we're saying because, it pays to pay attention.
Right.
So there's always some financial, gain for them if they know the answers to the questions or if some child would have stepped up. So there was a book, and we gave the kids a choice between, to get money, we asked them, would you rather wash a car or read this book? Only maybe 5 kids said that they would want to read the book, right? Mm-hmm. But only one of those 5 said, can I have the book? He's the one that got the money.
Right.
Because he showed the initiative. It's one thing to say, oh, I want to do it, right? But how you didn't ask for the book.
Right.
You didn't say, let me get the book. I will bring, let me get the book, opening up the door for that opportunity. Right. And once he said, let me get the book, we were like, you're the one, because you're looking for, those people that are going to step up, because that's how leadership is. Somebody who's a leader was once a follower who just decided, I can be in the front, or I want to do more for, my community, my family, whatever. Yeah. And that's in anything, life, sports, anything. That's how you become the leader, by doing something that everybody else isn't doing, either because they're afraid to do it or they don't want to do it.
Right.
Some people are just lazy. Like, they have the talent and the ability, but they won't act on it.
Right. Because, and a lot of times what I've seen is they're lazy, but when they actually when they go do it, it's so easy to them. So they're like, well, they just sit back down. So you got to say, okay, now I got to give them something more challenging, because if they're in the 5th grade, but maybe mentally and physically they're on the 8th grade level, we've seen like clips all the time on the internet of a kid playing football or basketball, and he's like way above his, his age range. So you got to put them in a higher age range.
Yep, you have to.
It's
mandatory, because he's gonna punish everybody else at his level.
Right.
So you need to put him with somebody on his level to actually be able to really get him to get his skills as sharp as they need to be. Like, I don't think LeBron gets better by going play with, 9 people at the YMCA.
No.
He has to go play with people on his level to stay sharp. I mean, no shot at the YMCA. Maybe some great players there. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But, the funny thing is with LeBron, even him at his high level, it's going to be even hard for him to find people that could be able to compete against him.
Yeah.
He's got to get on the phone. He's got to call KD up. He's got to call Chris Paul. It's like, look, I got to look, we all can make each other better. So you already know in the off season, during the season, they're fake enemies.
Yeah.
But then the off season, they're actually training together because they got to get each other better. Because like you said, you can't just go play against some scrubs, even in the NBA, and get better. If you're going to be at the top, echelon, cream of the cream, then you have to really stretch yourself to be able to get better.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So now, I deal with more adults than I do with kids. Okay. But it's just still the same type of leadership and mentorship thing. So what type of reaction do you feel when you see the breakthrough?
I kind of just go home and I soak it up. Yeah. Like, mentoring for me, I do parties and I do mentoring, and there's like this feeling of happiness, like I did it, like every time I get ready to do a mentoring event, I get up for it, like I'm prepared and I have my thoughts collected. I'm ready for the kids, I'm excited about it. Mm-hmm. So when it's over, it's like, oh, yeah, you kind of like almost want to have an after party, it's that feeling of I don't want to go home yet. Right. I want to stay out here. Like it might be, some sessions end at like 2:00 in the afternoon. Like what else is it to do? You know what I mean? Right. Where we going next? Because you know that you've done something great. You've impacted some lives, and when you see those kids later on in life, because I've been doing this for a couple of years now. So, I see kids like at sporting events, or, I just might see them in the store. Hey, what you got going on? Some of them are working. Or I saw one guy, I went to pick up something and he was in the back like, like, hey, how you doing? Like, hey, it just does your heart so good. And you just happy with seeing somebody else do better. Hopefully offer some information that you gave them.
Yeah. And I've had that too when I spoke with some kids and things. And also with adults, what I found with me is mine doesn't come until a couple of years later. Mm-hmm. I may get like a random text message or a message on Facebook. Hey, CB, we had that conversation and everything you said was right. Or, wow, I didn't see it then, but now I see it now. Mm-hmm. And I just like, that's my aha moment. Yeah. The issues that I usually have with adults is 2 years. A year and a half to 2 years before I see or get a response back. Oh, the aha moment. Where with kids, you usually could get it like within weeks if you're able to get the parents involved. Mm-hmm. It happens pretty fast. Yeah. Now, I want to bridge over to the parents. So how do you incorporate the parents into this mentorship?
Depending on the situation, it could be case by case. So some students I have, their parents have contacted me and said, hey, can you mentor my son? And sometimes at school, somebody may bring me a child, like a guidance counselor or a principal, and then I have to get the parent to fill out a form saying, that I'm authorized to, talk to their kid, whether it be in school or out of school. And I always ask the parent, what are they seeing in their child? Because a lot of times, the child at home may not be the same as they are at school. Mm-hmm. So, it may be at home like, hey, he doesn't listen, or he won't finish his homework. And at school, it may be he talks all the time. So you listen to what you're hearing as the problem, and then you just try to work on it. So I just talk to the kid about, what's going on? Because now I have what the parent said, and I heard what the teacher have said, or the person that brought them to me, and then I have the actual child. And a lot of times you find that there's something that the kid has going on that neither one of the school or the parent may not know about. It
Right.
could be a girl, it could be like somebody messing with me in science class that I don't like. That could throw a child's whole day off.
Yeah.
One class around somebody who they don't like, that could throw their vibe off, and they're not doing their best because they're still in that situation, with that person that may be bothering them, or somebody might go through a heartbreak,
Right.
And I just try to let the kids know, like, you're not really going through anything that most of us haven't already been through. If I haven't been through it, Dominique, L.A., Doc, Monte, one of us have been through it,
Right.
So collectively, I listen to the kid, they tell me what the problem is, and then I go from there to coming up with, what some of the solutions could be, because it's not really about the problem. It's about working on what the solution to the problem should be. So giving them a direction,
Right.
So they don't feel like it's the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to, when I spoke in Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of kids had mentioned that. And I said, shouldn't nobody else control the way you feel?
Mm-hmm.
So especially if you really don't know them like that. So let them be them. You come there to get education,
Mm-hmm.
and then also have fun with your friends. If that's not your friend, so why are you even worried about it?
Yeah, stay away from anything to give you bad vibes.
Right.
The thing about these kids now, and I'm sure you understand this too, they have the internet and social media, something that we didn't have.
Right.
So I couldn't really beef with somebody that wasn't around
Right.
before. Like now they can go back and forth with somebody that they may have never even met or seen.
And that's crazy.
like-
when you really think about it.
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. Like, how can you be angry at somebody that you have never interacted with except for over the internet? Like, somebody can make you so mad that, like, yo, I'm gonna tell them where I'm at so we can fight. Really? Because if I was gonna fight somebody in my day, I definitely was gonna tell you where I was. We was gonna have to run into each other at random.
Right.
I wasn't gonna be like, yeah, I'm at my house. Here go my address. I'm not sending you my location so you can know where I'm at the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or jeopardize my parents' house at the time. But these kids now, they'll do it. They tell you, pull up. They'll do it. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. And I was going to ask you, how is technology affecting your ability to mentor?
It's a positive and a negative. Like, I can reach most of the kids that I need to speak to relatively fast because of social media. Some of them follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If anybody's listening, everything is drinking on Sunday. But the downside to it is that they can interact with people that, they don't like, or they can go find the person that they don't like, and they can, basically start a beef, or, somebody can at them and bring them into a beef,
Right.
and it's like, that's not how it should be. You can use the internet to become a powerful success story, or you can use it to beef with people,
Now, the question I'm about to ask, it might be a little bit more technical and above our pay grade, so to speak.
Okay.
But I always wondered, why is cyberbullying an actual thing when the person is not, like you just said, they're not there? Like, I have the ability to turn the item off.
Yeah, like, I don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
But I think, and I have noticed a lot of things that you see in kids on the internet is some things that you see in adults. Like, where two adults are actually beef. Now, it won't be, I won't suspect that it would be somebody like, I'm about to be 42. Like, people that are in their 40s, I don't think they're necessarily going to really be jumping into it. But if you're about 25 or maybe 19 to about 25, you're probably internet beef with somebody.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the new rappers, that's what they do.
Yeah.
They internet beef, and then they run into each other like, oh yeah, I saw such and such. And,
Right.
because the world is much more connected now than what it was before.
Yeah.
With going live and location, data, and all of that. So it's a positive and a negative when it comes to dealing with the kids. It's great to be able to interact with them, really quick. That way I can keep up with them over the summer. I could just see how they're doing. But the downside is that, so much can happen to them over the summer, by beefing with other people that they don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, they beefing with people in New York. Like, are you going to New York to fight with this guy? Because here's what I don't like. This is kind of goes along with cyberbullying. Somebody can not like your idea or product, and that doesn't make that person a hater.
Right.
This new generation makes it like, if you don't like what I do, you're a hater.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's not true. I don't like country music. I don't hate it though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just that's not my thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I don't watch hockey, it doesn't mean that I hate hockey. I'm not a hockey hater. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like some people don't like dogs. It doesn't mean that they hate dogs.
Right.
But this generation seems to think if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't like my bracelet or the shirt that I'm wearing, you're officially a hater, 100%, not 99.9. You are an official hater. And that's where the internet really, it drives these kids crazy because somebody may dislike something. Oh, now I got to beef for him because you dislike, what I just said or what I'm doing, or and you put an angry face under my post. You know what I mean? What was that for? Like, the angry face is to be used when the person wants to use it. You don't even control if what somebody's gonna do. You control your response. So that's what you need to master. How are you gonna respond to the situation? Because you can just unclick, unfollow, delete, or just move on.
But what's crazy about that though, Ro, is that comes with a level of maturity that we think comes in around 18, 19 years old. But we're starting to find out through technology that there's some unfortunately 40, 50-year-old people that don't have it. They won't hit the unfollow or the unfriend. They'll feed into it because, unfortunately, drama is sexy. And then whatever is sexy is going to sell. It's what's going to pull you in. And that's what people love. All you got to do is turn on the TV. Yeah. And especially with I'm getting on my soapbox with Black people on TV, everything is drama related. Yeah. And negative related.
I was trying to figure out maybe Blackish is the most positive Black show.
Yeah.
Then I was trying to think of how many negative shows, or not just negative, they depict a negative portrayal of Black people on television versus Blackish. Right. And there's way more. And then some of the other shows that maybe could empower people got canceled. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or shows that were doing well for, the Black community still didn't make the cut. So it just makes you wonder, what do they want us to see? Which, part of it is, the people that are acting or, living their lives, they're paid to do that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the other part is, at the higher level, there's somebody who has to be pulling the string saying, this is what I want them to, this is what, they want to see. So we're going to give them more of this, And thankfully, Blackish is still making the cut every year to, be out here for us to see, because, there's not another Cosby show that I see where, there's just a family structure. Right. And when I go into these schools, a lot of these kids are not from the family structure. They're not from the Huxtable, family. Hey, somebody's a doctor, somebody's a lawyer. You got somebody who their mom might be making a small amount of money. The father may be absent. It may just be getting child support, here and there. So that's a completely different dynamic than what you're seeing, as these kids grow up, and you're looking at it I want them to see something positive, because if you watch TV, all you got is Blackish, which shows, a husband and a wife. And some of these other shows we're together, but he cheating, he got a baby, and it's both of these worlds exist. There's the mother and father or husband and wife structure, and then there's the essentially they call it the broken home. The broken home structure, which nobody really wants to be from a broken home. Most kids want to see both of their parents, and I think when you don't have both parents, the child doesn't equally get to know who they are. They may do something, and if depending on how well the mother knew the father, she may not know why he's doing that. Right. It may be something that the father did when he was 10 years old. But if you only knew him for a short amount of time, you won't even know, like, oh, he doing that because his daddy did that. But if you've known him for a long time, or you're in a relationship long term, you can know, like, hey, sit down. You know, your daddy had that same problem. I'm gonna get him he can come downstairs and talk to you versus we got to call him on the phone, and then he don't answer or whatever. There's just so many different dynamics in our community that affect, the education. Then, you got, so many kids going to jail. You got referrals. It's crazy how the system, is set up for you to, almost fail if you follow a certain path.
Yes.
Like if you follow a certain path, like, you're probably going to go to jail or not reach your full potential. And it's hard to make it, as a black man in America, already. But when you start incorporating referrals, broken home, no father around, growing up poor, the deck start getting stacked against you.
Right.
So you have to work 10 times harder to achieve the same thing that somebody else who had a mom and dad, who had some good guidance along the way, who knows their self. Because knowing yourself is probably more important than anything else. That's why I think people who may have money or get rich, if they don't really know themselves or understand themselves, they still won't be happy.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Happiness is not based on, what's in your bank account. It's based on what's in your heart. Yeah. That's my own thought. I can't document that. Like I don't have no degrees or anything, but that's the way I feel. Like it's not about the money. It can be for a little while, but then okay, you have the money. What's next?
Yeah. So why do you think for the black community, because as you stated that we can't we get in our own way, so if we know a deck is stacked against black men and we pretty much know the solutions of what we can do, ourselves, not the system, what we can do ourselves, why don't you think we just do it?
Because there's too many followers. The same thing that happens in the classroom where some people want to step up, but they won't because they don't really know the reasoning behind it. And it could be, hey, I don't really know myself yet, so I'm not ready to step up. I mean, I wasn't always, a mentor. I wasn't always like the leader that I am today. I wasn't as outspoken as as I am now before. So it just, sometimes it takes, time for you to, reach a level where you feel like, okay, I can go out here and I can help people, but as a whole, I feel like in order for us to be able to step up, we have to all know what the goal is first. Like, what are we trying to achieve?
Right.
And for me, it's always economical empowerment.
Right.
Because the economics, if we don't have money to go behind the things that we're trying to do, then I mean, it's America, man. Money run this country.
Right.
Like all the politicians, most of those politicians and people in Congress are, at least millionaires.
Right.
So if your money doesn't mean a lot, your vote doesn't mean a lot, which your voice doesn't mean a lot. So there's not a lot of black people in Congress. We make up a small percentage of the people that are actually allowed to vote. And then of that percentage, some of those, are actually rich. Right. So they may not know the same struggle as somebody who came up and who wasn't.
Right.
So they may represent a different interest when it comes to, making a vote. So it's having unity. I say it starts like in your own backyard, in your own community, maybe with the school. And then we can grow new leaders. We can grow new leaders through going back, talking to kids. I was in the Navy. I was a chief in the Navy. And they used to always say, if you don't have this person, you're going to have to grow that person. So if you don't have an E5, you're going to have to get one of these guys promoted to make him an E5, and then you'll turn him into the leader that you need him to be. Right. So that's what I try to do, with kids. With adults is a little bit different because everybody's personality is much stronger, when you're an adult, and everybody may have different agendas. So what we have to do is get people who have the same goals in mind. And once we get those people together, we push those, as far as we can, as fast as we can. Mm-hmm. And then we just continue and then go back. And, all right, so we got that done. Let's go back and, get some more kids. Because while this group is going, there's another group that's growing up,
Right.
you know, that are, you know, maybe in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, they're becoming young adults. And we have to go and shape their thoughts. You know, it's not just about this, that classroom education, you know, because school is going to stop. There probably won't be any more tests. There's going to be like real life decision making
Right.
that's going to affect you. You know, you go from getting an A and B to getting a credit score, you know, from 350 to 850.
Right. So now I know because you're real big on the financial aspect of things. So how old are you teaching? How old are the kids when you start teaching them the financial aspect of stuff?
Depends on where they're at first. You know, I just try to see what their attitude is and what their goals are. Most kids want to be athletes. Right?
Yeah. Or rappers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Athletes or rappers, which I think that's a byproduct of what they see on television.
TV. Yeah, right. Goes back to what, right.
Like when the Huxtables was around, I'm sure a lot of kids wanted to go to Hillman, even though it wasn't even a real school.
Right.
Like, because you don't know yet, because you're a child.
Right.
Right. So most of these kids want to be athletes. Specifically, most of them want to be football players. Right. So, you know, I write on the board, like, you know, how many kids, you know, how many high schools there are in America, how many kids are playing football, how many got scholarships, how many open spots are there in the NFL? And then I'm saying, I circle that number and I say, this how many job opportunities are available for everybody in the United States for this particular job. Not only that, it depends on what your position is.
Right.
You know, because there's always less quarterbacks than, you know, other positions. So I'm telling, you know, the kids to look at that. And then I'm thinking, okay, even if you achieve your goal, what else are you going to do? How are you going to achieve your financial goals? Because none of you talked about the money that's involved. You talked about reaching the goal, but you didn't talk about, well, every athlete doesn't get paid the same amount of money.
That's right.
You know, the Peyton Manning makes way more than, you know, the third stringer. You know, so let's say you're the third string guy. How are you going to see more income? You know, and that's why I say you first have to get them to think about what their goal is. And then you start talking about, you know, how are you going to get there? And even if you make it there, what are you going to do financially? You know, a lot of kids, they want the goal, but they don't want the sacrifice, you know? Right. A lot of them are like, hey, so which one of you guys are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to work out? Yeah. You know, how many, can anybody in here do about 100 push-ups? You know what I mean? What's your speed in running a 40? Right. You know what I mean? Because you can really tell who wants it and who doesn't want it. Yeah. You know? And I always use examples of, like, if you really want it, it's going to show up somewhere in your life. You know, you can't just raise your hand because it sounds good. You know, the other 5 people said, I want to be an athlete. But we can tell. You know, we can tell if you really want it. Especially me. Like, I have a good sense of if you want it or not. You know what I mean? Because I could just be like, you don't want it. You know how many people tell me they want to join the military when I go to high school? I was in the Navy 20 years, retired. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, you don't really want to join. You don't even sound serious. You know what I mean? It sounds like a good answer. And I tell kids, don't tell me the good answer. Tell me the truth. Yeah. Cause a lot of times they're not the same thing. You know, your answer sounds great. Oh, I'm going to join the military. You took the ASVAB test. How fast is your 1.5 miles? How many push-ups can you do? Right. You know what I mean? You've been to the recruiting station. They come here on these days. Oh, but miraculously, you haven't seen them. Right. You know what I mean? So I just talked to them about that. And the economic piece is so important because we have to be economically sound. Our voice is much more louder when there's finances behind it. You know, because all these lobbyists and things like that for, you know, politicians, it's about the money. Yeah. It's about the money. And if we don't get that through our head, or we continue to be, you know, the major consumers, then, you know, we're gonna lose a lot of ground in a race that we should be, you know, by now we should be starting to catch up with somebody. You know, You know what I mean? Right. Instead, we run a race where we get a little bit ahead. And then we talk trash to the people that we was just with. Right. You know, and kind of music does that. Like, yo, you know what? You see me with a Phantom or the this or that. I got a house now. Like, it's okay to have all of those things. You're actually supposed to have those. Right. You know what I mean? That should be normal. It shouldn't be the exception. Right. Yeah, I was talking to my wife about this
Da Vinci painting that sold for $450 million.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there saying, that should tell you how much money is out there.
Yeah.
Somebody bought a painting for $450 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you hear like the Jay-Z or Diddy, they're worth $500 million. This one guy bought a painting for $450 million. So we're around here struggling to make ends meet, or trying to get this, nice car. That's pennies compared to what people actually got out there.
Yep.
And we have been painted this picture of, I always feel like the Black community, or the middle class, I should say, let's go beyond the Black community. Middle class is underneath this bubble and this cloud of, this is okay. This is fine. But until you, like, I like to tell people, like Wonder Woman on an island, the Amazon island, it's like when you get past the clouds and you see this whole different aspect. And I said, when you're able to go to like West Palm Beach, Beverly Hills, down to Fort Lauderdale, you go down to South Beach and see some of the houses, they're people just like you and me.
Yep.
And someone caught breaks, someone made better decisions, someone had better opportunities, but they're still people. But we as middle class get stuck in, everything is fine. I can go down here to this AutoZone, put oil in my car and get it to run. It shouldn't be that way. Matter of fact, you shouldn't even have a car. You should be able to just call a guy and it'll come pick you up and drive you somewhere, because you create the job doing that.
Yep.
Or putting money into a business, or the guy that's running that business as a car service.
Yep.
But we don't think along those lines, because we're happy with the car notes and having the things and creating more debt, where other people, some people will talk about how to use debt to get more wealth, knowing how to play the game, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's just weird how everything we do is just like a revolving door.
Yeah.
And I was at a trap paint night.
Okay.
And it was a painting sitting right over there. And it was $100. You could put either $100 or $1 million, whatever, and you paint a number in the dollar bill that the person was holding in their mouth. I put $1, and everybody was like, "Why you put $1? Why didn't you pick 100 million or $100?" Okay, I said, because the $1 is the same amount as the $100 to a person that's super rich. It's nothing. It's pennies. So I could put 100 million up here, and then we just got through talking about a painting that sold for $450 million. That's not me saying that, yes, I would love to win the lottery for $100 million right now. I would be ecstatic. I would be doing cartwheels down the street. But realistically, there's people out there with $4.5 billion in that, that they're worth. When you really sit and think about that, like if I was to give you, Ro, and say, I'm gonna give you $4 billion, Ro, but here's the thing, like Bruce's Millions. If you remember that movie,
yeah, he had to spend all the money.
But you got to spend. You can't spend none of the money on yourself, and you got to spend all the money. Just imagine what you would do with that.
It's crazy,
right? You wouldn't be able to spend it. You would spend your whole lifetime. You buy it you could buy a house, you could do this, just that, and other, right? But then when it's time to give the rest of the money away, you wouldn't be able to spend it all. Because it would just be frivolous if you tried to. But there's people out there that have that type money,
I was talking to the kids one day, right? About two different things. First, I was talking to them about who is Dan Gilbert, right? No kid knew, right? And I said, now, which one of you guys know who LeBron is? Everybody knows LeBron.
Right.
So then I go on to tell them, okay, Dan Gilbert owns the team that LeBron pays for. He cuts the check for LeBron. So though LeBron is, he's rich, he has his money or whatever, he's getting his money from this guy.
Right.
But you don't know who this guy is. Like, you kind of know the middleman. You don't even know the guy at the top.
Right.
The other thing is, for the Black community, I always say, Oprah is the richest Black person, right? She got like maybe 5 or 6 billion, something around there. She's about 60 something years old. She had to go to school, get a degree, work in journalism, be on TV, start her own station before she, got to this point. And then you have Mark Zuckerberg, who started Facebook, dropped out of college, worth $55 billion.
Right.
You look at the disparity, the distance between these two people. You're talking about the top for black people. And this dude is only like 30. I think he's like maybe 34, 35. He's in his 30s.
Right.
He's 30 years younger than her, but he has $55 billion. She has like 5. And she had to really bust her ass to get that money.
Right.
She had to work her whole life. You talking about a kid that dropped out.
Right.
It just shows you how, like, we have to work 10 times harder to get to Oprah level, because she's our top.
Right.
She's our top. She's number one. Then I think Jordan is next. And look what he had to do.
Right.
He had to sell sneakers. He got to put the retros out every year, get his own brand. He got to get voted in by the other owners to be able to own a team. All these things, endorsements, advertisements to get to his point. And then you have this dude that's 55, $billion that's, half Jordan's age.
Right. It's crazy.
Then the reality of it is that's where the economic part come in at. Like, you can see how much harder we have to work to at least be economically sound. Like, a lot of things that I found out in, about credit and about just managing your money, my parents didn't know. Not because they weren't smart people, they just didn't know. Right. A lot of times, back in the day, you probably found out that you didn't get approved for something for credit and just went home and were like, hey, they said I couldn't get it.
Right.
You didn't know why. You didn't check your credit report. Like, hey, they just told you no. You probably didn't even know your score. You just like, hey, they told me no, I couldn't get a $2,000 car.
Right.
But now there's so much information that's available on the internet. The internet is your best friend and your worst enemy. You could waste your life up here. You could build your life up here. There's so much more information, but it still has to be executed.
Right.
If the information is free. Most of the stuff that I learned off of YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is a wonderful tool, especially when you're learning something new.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, it's like, man, if you don't know something, first you go to Google and type the question in there. Mm-hmm. And if you can't find it in there, go to YouTube and type the question in there, and just maybe it'll pop up. Yeah. There might be somebody out there with a video. It may be like 5 people that have looked at it, but it's the information that you need.
I have yet to find a time that I needed to find something like my MacBook. It wouldn't start the other day, right? And I just got on my phone and I found out what was wrong. Yeah. And I fixed it, like, without having to take it to the Apple store or anything. Like, do this, and it made it come on. I went in and changed some things, just like that. It came back on. Yeah. But had I not had the internet, or some way to just, ask that question, because like I said, the world is much smaller now, and it's easier to find out what you need to know than it was before. So at this point, there's really no excuse except for executing and building more leaders.
Yeah. And then one thing that's really funny too is that a lot of times people make money to be able to tell you how to fix the computer. Mm-hmm. But now people are giving it away for free. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, most people really want to help other people. Mm-hmm. We've talked on the show about the negativeness of people in general, the internet, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. But when you really look at the flip side of the coin, there's a lot of things out there that people do give for free. They're very generous giving. And this one guy named Dr. Harris who tell me all the time, he would say, CB, so these people out here with all this information in their head, they want to get it out. So the question is are you going to ask them for the information?
But just like the book. Right. Everybody got their hand up. Right. Who's going to say, let me have the book? Right. When the young boy said, let me have the book, that was like, you're the one. Yeah. You, out of everybody that has been in here, you are the one that we know you're actually going to probably, push yourself to go further, faster than everybody else, because you took the initiative to say, give me the book. Yeah. because a lot of times, it's plenty of information out here, but I'm not just going to stop every person I meet and be like, hey, you want to know about you
Right.
want to know about your FICO? You know what I mean? Like, but if you ask me, I'm more than willing. I got more time than I got money.
Right.
So I got all day to sit down and be like, hey, let's do this. Let's talk about budgets and, building up our community, But, it's all about who wants it, you know. And if somebody doesn't want it, I don't force them to, to want it. This is a volunteer service here.
Yeah. So, if anybody's out there listening and they want their child or the school to get hooked up with you, how do they go about doing that?
They can contact me directly. My telephone number is 757-394-6998. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, under the name Drinking on Sunday. Everything that's Drinking on Sunday related comes directly to my phone. So if you can Google it and my name will come up somewhere with Drinking on Sunday.
All right. So what you got going on here in the near future that we all need to know about?
My birthday party is Friday at Roger Brown. New Year's Eve party at Roger Brown. We have a cooking show that's in development right now that'll probably be on in about February, March. We have home health care, Premier Home Health Care, located in Portsmouth, Virginia. We have a nonprofit organization from the bottom up, which is up and running. So be on the lookout for that. All these are 2018 things that are in the pipeline, just working their way down.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Ro, for joining us today. And this is your CB Baker. Till next time.